This is New Amsterdam Season 5, Episode 4 discussion slash review titled Heal Thyself. And it was very reminiscent of what New Amsterdam was in the very beginning. Let's talk about it.
Live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings, I'm a big fight.
This episode took me back to the very first few seasons, which was season 1 and 2 of New Amsterdam, and it gave me that same vibe, that same feeling, the same emotions that I drew from in the very first 2 seasons of New Amsterdam. Because after that, it started to change a little bit, but I still loved the show. But this episode was very reminiscent of the very first 2 seasons, in my opinion, when it focused solely on the characters. We didn't deal with anything extra or any pulling from anything else. It was solely focused on our MCs and what they were going through, and I was there for it from the very beginning. Now, this episode started off with Max telling everybody, oh my gosh, it's a 911, come meet me, there's so much going on. And it wasn't nothing going on. He just wanted them to treat themselves, because doctors sometimes tend to forget themselves and treat themselves, and they fall by the wayside because they're so focused on helping their patients and other people that they forget to treat themselves sometimes. So that's what the entire focus of this episode was for all of our MCs and all of the other doctors on staff to treat themselves, because they never really focus on themselves. They never really take time off or anything like that. So this was that dedicated episode to give them that. And there was so much more along with that episode, along with them healing thyself. So we see that Iggy is healing himself, and he's going on a date from the dating app, but he also comes in contact with another psychiatrist from New Amsterdam after his whole debacle of a date kind of just went in shambles. So Iggy is having a therapy session in his own office with another psychiatrist, and he's finally starting to realize some things, and I feel like this is very good for Iggy, in which he also mentioned that to Max at the very ending of the episode, that he can't thank Max enough because Max helped him in a very situation where he really needed help. And we see that Iggy's whole problem is he couldn't get it up. I'm just being real. He couldn't get it up when he needed to get it up. And long story short, we find out the reason why. It wasn't a physical thing, it was a mental thing. And because that same guy that he went on a date with was everything that Martin was to Iggy, and he felt like he was retreating. I don't want to say retreating, it might be retreating back to his old self, and he was trying to be someone new, because that's why his whole marriage fell apart with Martin, is because, he was trying to discover something new about himself, and he was falling back into the same old trend, and that's why his mental mind was blocked. It's weird, like that's why he was mentally blocked and couldn't get it up, because he ended up trying to date someone that was exactly like his marriage was. And him talking to his psychiatrist friend from New Amsterdam, which is cool, by the way. Where has he been? Like, I would have loved to see this dude in the series a lot more. But he gave Iggy a different perspective on the outlook of it, and that really helped Iggy in the long run. And to be fair, that dude was exactly like Martin. You know what I'm saying? I hate to say that Iggy, because in a relationship, there's 2 parties. There's not just one party solely. So Martin and Iggy's relationship kind of fell apart because of both of them. You know what I'm saying? But Iggy realizes, mentally anyway, that he was trying to date someone or even talk to someone that was exactly like Martin. But thanks to his friend, he realized that, well, hey, you know what? I don't want to say do better, but I can do different, and I don't have to fall back into the same routine that I fell into when I met my husband the very first time. Now, let's talk about Floyd. We see that Floyd is one of those people that he can't really quite see control, and that was very evident because we find out he has like a typical, I want to say a heart arrhythmia maybe, or something like that, some kind of disease. And it's not major, it's very minor, but he still needed to have it treated before it turned into something major, and he just could not see control this entire episode. And when he's on the operating table, he's trying to tell all these people about everything, and the doctor said, you know what, I'm done, I don't want to do it anymore. He was like, wait, I'm sorry, come back. So it was nice to see Floyd in a different light as well, because we see Floyd a little vulnerable this episode, because we know that he's dealing with all the stuff that he has about his father, but him having to give up control, and him being laying on this operating table and being so vulnerable in that particular predicament we see a different side of Floyd, but we also see that he started telling them about, well, hey, my father left, so I had to be the man in the house. But we have this one doctor or nurse. I'm not totally sure which. I want to say she might have been a nurse or doc. No, she's a doctor. She's probably a nurse. I want to say she's a nurse, but she's an OR nurse. So anyway, she's there and she's telling Floyd, well, didn't your mom help? Like, isn't your mom a capable, strong woman? Well, you know what? She is a capable, strong woman. So then, did she do what she need to do? So I like the fact that, she stood up to Floyd, but I already know where we're going with this. I know that like the season's ending and this is the last series. I mean, this is the last season of the show. The series is ending, but like I said, I still feel like some things are just a tad bit rushed. And I feel like this aspect, they threw that chick in there to, make her be Floyd's potential girlfriend, spouse, or whatever, whenever they decide to end the series. Be like, oh, well, so Floyd and this nurse or whatever, they're going to be together. Because you could tell the way that they were vibing. Now, I'm not upset with that because I feel like Floyd does deserve someone. But I feel like they just kind of, for me, it feels like they just kind of threw it all together, in my opinion. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm actually liking the vibe that they're giving each other. She seems like, she'll put Floyd in his place, and Floyd is like, okay, girl, you do you, and I ain't mad at it. And besides, she's black. Floyd wanted to marry a black woman, and so they're giving him that, and I'm not upset with that at all. We see that Bloom is dealing with her own situation as well. We know that she's not, taking drugs or drinking or anything like that anymore. She's sober, but she's still taking the Adderall that's prescribed to her to help her, deal with these situations in her everyday life and the ED. But with her having her whole moment of healing thyself, she is being taken off her Adderall because she's losing weight constantly and everything. So the doctor decided to take her off the Adderall and see how she does with that, but she's not feeling it. She feels like she actually needs the Adderall to continue to go on, but it was very evident this episode that she really didn't quite need it. It was more of an urge, you know what I'm saying? Like, she took that drug to kind of cope with not having to take any other drugs, if you catch my drift. Like, this episode, we see her functioning very well without it. She was a little edgy, but that's only because she was just having to quit the drugs cold turkey. So that made her a little snappy this episode. And I love her and Walsh's dynamic. I mean, they were always a good pair, but it was normally her and Casey's not there. So her and Walsh are picking up the slack of that dynamic duo in the ED, and I'm loving it. I am there for it. But we see that she's kind of snappy a little bit. But like I said, I feel like that's her kind of withdrawing from not taking the medication cold turkey, because she handled everything without the medication this episode. Sure, there were some moments where she was kind of struggling a little bit, but that's, like I said, she quit cold turkey, so it's going to be some difficulties quitting cold turkey, but she handled everything. She was handling the patient, she was handling the ED, she was handling the emergencies that was coming in left and right. So Bloom, I feel like her not being on the Adderall is going to help her in the long run, and I feel like she got to see a different side of herself, because at the end of the episode, the doctor was like, well, excuse me, the doctor was like, well, we can take you off of it for more than a week if you're willing to try that. She was like, yeah, you know what, I think I will. So we're going to see her without the Adderall, and I think we're going to get a different side of Bloom. She's not going to change characteristics, but we're just going to see a different side of her actually, being a little bit more capable and confident with herself and not having to depend on the medication. But big ups to Bloom this episode. I'll say it again, the Max and Wilder dynamic is kind of pushing them together, and their whole storyline kind of combined together as well, because we see that Max done this whole ordeal because he was terrified again because he saw a lump on his throat, and that had him a little bit worried because Georgia's gone, Helen's gone, and if he dies, Luna's going to be left all alone yet again. So he's a little terrified about leaving Luna alone. He's a little terrified that the cancer may be back. So all of this is really bugging Max. So that's why he decided to reach out and help all the other doctors as well. So that kind of threw him and Wilder's storyline together, in my opinion, because Wilder has something that's going on with her, which is carpal tunnel, and she's done all the stuff that she can do that's not surgery, but it's not helping, so now she has to do surgery, but she really doesn't want to do surgery because that's going to leave her without being able to communicate with anybody. She won't be able to sign, text, or do anything like that, so she's going to be, she's going to be kind of cut off and isolated. So she doesn't really want to have the surgery, but Max talks her into it because, you know, he gives in about his fears and everything. So that kind of allows Wilder to kind of go into it and be like, well, you know what? I will go have the surgery. And I'm loving their friendship, and I get their friendship because I think they make wonderful friends. But at the ending of this episode, when she kind of came out of her surgery and Max was there to trying to help her, at the ending of the episode, and when they kind of hugged each other a little bit, we could see that Max was just constantly rubbing her, and Wilder kind of looked at it and was like, well, this isn't so bad. And I know a lot of people feel like, well, you're just reaching, you know, like them being together, it's not a thing, you know. They could just be friends. No, dude, tell me, this episode kind of solidified my whole opinion about them trying to push Wilder and Max together. Like I said, I'm not mad at it because I actually like Wilder, and I think she's a great person. I love her character, and I could see them not being a bad couple. But I'm just saying, it feels like it's just so rushed, in my opinion, because I know that this is the last season. This is the end of the series, but it just feels so rushed, in my opinion. And you can't tell me, like right there at the ending of this episode, that you didn't see them trying to push them together a little bit. I mean, just a little bit. Even if you didn't believe it a lot from the previous episodes, this episode had to solidify you kind of seeing them, you know, well, oh, they're trying to push Max and Wilder together maybe a little bit, just a little bit, because the way they, like when he hugged her and she kind of just looked at his hand and she was like, oh, well, maybe this isn't so bad. You know what I'm saying? Like just a little bit, maybe. Overall, it was a nice episode. It was very nostalgic, and it felt very reminiscent from the very beginning of New Amsterdam, what we were seeing with the series. And I'm not mad at that because this was a great episode. It took you back to the very beginning, and this is why we love New Amsterdam. This is Wording Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button so you can smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe. Peace out.
I cannot complain because today, I'm doing my